Okay, I would like to welcome you back. It is still Good Morning Anambra Tuesday episode, and I'm still here with my colleague Ebere Ugonna.
It's good to be here.
Okay, thank you very much. And this is our discussion segment. This morning, you may have heard that today is Sickle Cell Day. It's in our news headline today. And this is one topic I don't like talking about because of the way this sickle cell anemia is ravaging, the society. And I would like Ebele to, take over the sickle cell. I'm scared.
Well, it's actually it's been disturbing over the years, and
Yes.
We just have to find a way to curb it, and of course, sensitize people and make them know what they have to do and what they shouldn't do.
This is justice. So we have in the house to help us look at the topics we have this morning. Dr. Azuka Ofomata. Dr. Azuka Ofomata is the Permanent Secretary, Minister of Women and Child Affairs. Doctor, you're welcome to our studios.
Thank you very much, and good morning.
And we also have Engineer Anthony Anaebue. He's a public affairs analyst. Tony, you're welcome.
Hi, good morning, viewers.
Okay, you've heard our intro that today is World Sickle Cell Day, and then I better say that what we should be looking at is how to curb it. Okay, so briefly, what do you say about that? Because that's not the topic we have for this morning. Just want to talk about that.
Okay.
But we could start with
Okay, but before then, let's quickly see what.
Well, today, like we said, it is World Sickle Cell Day. It is an international awareness day observed annually in an attempt to increase public knowledge and understanding of sickle cell disease, while educating those who may not know enough about the struggles experienced by patients and their families and caregivers. That's exactly what I was actually talking about. We need to sensitize people about this disease. A whole lot of people don't know more about it, and like I said, what we need to start doing and what we need to stop doing.
Briefly, before we get to the topic.
I think what we need to do is whenever you're about to get married to somebody, man or woman, male or female, you have to check what your blood group is all about, what you have. Incidentally, science has told us that AS team is likely going to come out with one SS person. And then two other of their children will be very likely to, because they will have AS blood group. You can only have one AA, that is one AA group. In other words, if you are about to get married or if you're about to start cutting, I don't know when to start, but actually, because most times when you've gone deep into the relationship and somebody tells you to go back, it becomes very painful. I don't know whether it's possible to advise somebody to, before you even start getting friendship, you go and start checking them. But the important is that you must have to check yourself. Once you have AS in your blood group and the other person is AS, please take a walk.
So that's what we should start doing.
To see if you are compatible.
Take a walk. Yes.
And Doc, do you think we have had enough sensitization on this? Just briefly before we go.
I don't think we have. Incidentally, I think that the best thing to do is what my friend has already said. But the issue about it is that sometimes you might go for the test, and I don't know if it is a mistake or if it is a flaw, because I know, I don't know how people knew that I had some SS children. And I was called, because this is why he was calling me for child development, but that's what I thought I was coming here for.
Yeah, that's exactly what you are here for. We just want to, breeze this one in.
I had a little problem with my children. My second child died because he wanted to undergo an operation, and they said the blood has to be they have to do either transfusion or lift up the blood group. And, the carelessness of doctors, I wouldn't want to talk about this thing, but he was sent to the hospital to do a juvenile operation, some kind of operation, and he passed out because the doctor did not show care. He didn't even come to operate.
Very unfortunate.
He didn't come to operate. He sent his senior registrar. There was a mistake. After the operation, he didn't come to see the child. After 18 hours, the child died. So it was a pathetic thing. That's bad experience.
Sorry.
A very bad one indeed. It's okay, sir. It's okay. All right. Thank you very much for this. I just said that today, since today is World Sickle Cell Day, let's just flash it in and then get to what we have today, which is developing the African child. That's the topic we'll have today. Okay. And as you very much know, that the Day of the African Child was celebrated on the 16th of June, okay? Or it's celebrated 16th of June because it's every year, okay? And that's just last Saturday and we are not here. Perhaps that's why I want to look at that today. And then the theme for this year says, leave no child behind for Africa's development. And that is why we are looking at the development of the African child today, and that simply means that inclusive development for children or other words is non-negotiable. Okay? All right. Now, let's quickly see what Ebele has on that.
We're talking about developing the African child, and just as he was talking about losing his son, it was a bad experience, but it's still part of it, because when we don't have people who are actually dedicated to their duties, it's a big problem for the African child, especially, it's in this part of the world. We, the African, it's always difficult because you go to the hospital, you're actually sick, you have one issue or the other, and nobody really cares. Well, if you want to die, go ahead and die. But it's not really like that in the Western world, and it's a big problem when we talk about developing the African child. Now, today, of course, lots of questions will be coming, and we always have you in the house to provide solution to this question.
Yes, and that's why they're here.
Thank you.
Okay, Doc Ofomata, you will come from you take care of women and children in Anambra State, okay? And that's why I want to find out from you when you will say develop the African child. What does that mean? How do we do that?
Well, developing the African child means giving the child the right to survival, right to education, right to protection, right to prevention from any terrible, any kind of violence towards children. And my ministry is trying as much as possible and still trying to see what they're going to do to, as much as possible, eliminate violence. Violence when you see, you go around, you see children, they are hawking, and they tend to fall into hazardous things that is not really good for them. And I guess because sometimes they say it's because of economic problems, but if there's economic problems, why should you collect another child and send the child for hawking? You wouldn't allow the child to go to school. You wouldn't allow him to get the education that he's supposed to get. And it's really something that is bothering the ministry. And we're trying as much as possible to see what we're going to do to eradicate such things.
I see. Thank you very much. Let's clear this before we move ahead. Child violence and child abuse. Are they the same thing, Tony?
Yeah, thank you very much. I don't know whether to particularize on this particular question because in handling this, developing the African child, I'm looking at if we can give our viewers a snapshot of who an African child is. And by that snapshot, I would like to take us to the definition or to the discussion on topic of who really is an African child. An African child is that child that is born to an African parent that you see chasing vehicle along the road with wares on his head to sell. Is an African child.
What a definition.
An African child is that child you see who is loaded with bombs on his body to blow himself up in the name of fanaticism and fundamentalism. That is an African child. An African child is that person, that child you see in a hospital that is not taking proper care of because his parents doesn't have money, and the medical care is not enough to take care of his well-being. Is an African child, especially if it's an African family. And then finally, or maybe not the least, an African child is that child you see probably in one of our private or public school that is being taught how to be more of an European than an African by way of distorting our languages and using foreign languages to bring our children up, so that at the end of the day, they turn out to be more European than African. That's an African child. And when you look at it, you see that it encapsulates a little of what you can, my brother Doc has mentioned here, area of violence. The violence may or may not include child abuse, because in some area we are told that those child even volunteer to go into violence themselves, probably because of the societal impact on them. But when you talk about child abuse, like my brother said here, you see a parents that pick up a child, maybe even their own, but it's not necessarily somebody's own child, and send him or her to the street to hawk. And they chase vehicle from morning till evening, selling wares. When you engage a child in what's called child labor, that's child abuse. And then, so you see, there's a little wide margin between child abuse and violence upon children. In actual sense, violence upon children include excessive beating, subjecting the child to excessive beating in the home in the name of child upbringing, and then using them in all form of, or exposing them to all form of violence, which you know they cannot deal with because they are still so young. So an African child has a lot of social abuse, religious abuse, educational misinformation, and health-wise is nowhere.
So
Thank you.
We're looking at developing the African child. Now, to change this narrative,
Yes.
what should be done? Because you actually gave us some definition of the African child.
child,
Now, looking at this definition, they are really not a sweet one to talk about, because you talk about an African child who you see running around the street, hawking, trying to, survive, and the parents are home. And when you get to look at these kids, they're so underage, trying to survive. To change this narrative, what should be done?
Have you considered where even the parents is with the child in that place?
And that
And you see so many of them, you see their mothers there, also hawking. The situation is that the economic situation in this Africa, the leadership problem, governance. We still have a lot of governance problem in Africa. I don't know whether it is purely an African problem, though we say it's a global issue. But the point still remains that, I don't know, Africans don't seem to be agreed with how to handle some of these societal problems. I would say, take for instance, per capita income of an average African. That is to say, how much do you take home every day in spite of all your struggle, in spite of all your hustling? How much do you take home? You discover that most of the African nations, the governance is still glued into what I can call colonial hangover. Colonial hangover, where the people that said they governed us before and left us, put us in a state where we continually run to them to execute one or two of economic policy we need to put in place. And by so doing, we become economically dependent on yes. Apart from governments, you look at this individual level. There are a lot of things to be done.
Yes. Thank you. How do we develop an African child?
Well, like we were talking about, we have just spoken about the economy. But that's not only what we need to do. Like in Anambra State, we have schools that are free. And I strongly believe that, an African man should really struggle to look for something to do to earn a living. We have just spoken about the economic fiasco, instability in the economy. But there's a point that it will come to that you have to really do something for yourself. Look for something to do in order to be able to earn a living. You know, if we say that we have free education in Anambra State, which I think that might be in other states, the man and the woman should go out to the field and look for what to do. An Igbo man, you know, after the war, like I was told and I observed, I was young that time, the Igbo people knew that there is nothing else, that what they have to do is to struggle to make a living. And you will find out that they were able to do it. How much was given to people that deposited a little amount of money in the bank? 20 pounds, according to what I heard at that particular time. And a lot of Igbo people were able to use that 20 pounds to earn a living, to have a stable life, to be able to train their children by investing it in something. And I believe that when you go into doing something, that God will also help you. But I think that the problem we have is that the governance of Africa is really terrible. You see, you see a lot of countries that they say that are economically viable.
Excuse me, Doc. Excuse me. Let's see who is with us. Hello. Okay, let me use this opportunity to inform you that this program is interactive. You can call in and make your contributions even as we talk. The numbers are on your screen. Go on, Doc.
You see countries that are economically viable. But when somebody gets into power, he will want to embezzle the money so much to the extent that I don't know if he's keeping that money for his great grandchildren. While other people are suffering. It's not being fair. If you do, you know what Africa needs is a little investment. Give us light, give us water, give us good roads. You understand what I mean? And allow us to do other things. A lot of people in the village, in the remote areas, in the backwater areas, cannot even bring out their goods. Things that they cultivated, yam, all kinds of vegetables and things, they cannot bring it out to sell.
And that affects them. But because if you don't sell and make money, you won't be able to take care of your children.
That's actually what also contributes to the fact that we're complaining about food shortage. Exactly. But that brings me to my next question, and I want to know, how do we ensure steady financing for our significant needs for sustainable development in an increasing, uncertain society as ours?
Yes, thank you very much. Financing. Well, let me tell you one thing. I don't know, sometimes we try to be very, very economical with words when we're handling certain societal issues. Let us look at, because whenever you mention financing, my mind gets to banking system, financial institutions that will not, because it's not only government that will do some of these things we are talking about. You look at the financial institutions. How do banks operate in this system, in this society? You get a situation where banks have been arranged in such a way that they do what you can call excruciating financial policy that always try to hinder.
1 minute, let's take this. Hello, good morning.
Okay,
the banking policy that hinders people from investing, even in micro investment. You find the policy, the collateral you are told to come in with, the interest policy is so excruciating that at times you regret. In fact, I don't know who goes to bank today to get loan happily. Unfortunately, that is not there. Then again, I want to look at when my brother talked about the free education. The unfortunate thing is that when you talk about free education, we really don't know whether this education is really free. Because unfortunately, we've got to tell ourselves the truth. What most parents pay in name of levies, I don't know what to call it in schools. It's even better they start paying school fees. And there are schools around us where you look at what they do, I don't know whether they are monitored, they are supervised. They levy, they tax students, and eventually they drive it home to their parents. And you see the things they ask them to pay about, and the way they handle them, that is to the point that when a child fails to pay any of this, the child is even prevented from taking his exam. And you will not ask the person, if the child eventually pays later, will he be asked to take the exam that you prevented him or her from taking?
But let me tell you what's involved there. Let me tell you. Because I know there's a problem. I mean, there's a case like this that I pursued in Oba. Okay, sometimes our parents don't come up with information. They don't report. They don't report cases like this. Okay, so how would the government know? In schools. How would the government know? I'm telling you that I've handled one in Oba. And by the time the people that are concerned had it, the headmistress was meant to.
Let me help you. I have made a complaint, though informally. Okay. There was a time I had a program with one officer of the Ministry of Education. And I raised this matter. I raised this matter of even the issue of PTA. PTA that is becoming a very big issue in schools today. People don't know that thing is really dealing with schools, dealing with parents. Yeah. So, and when I raised it, I know what the officer said. He said even that it's most of those parents that agree. But I told him, have you gone in to see how PTA are being operated in schools? I don't want to discuss that here because it's something that we have to discuss another day.
Okay, we'll have to discuss that.
But that is another thing.
We'll have to discuss that another day.
So all these things tail on the African child.
Whereby individuals will be tampering with what government has put in place. Okay, PTA is not supposed to say what happens in school. They have their own area of coverage. It's not even
even the officer said it's not part of the government this thing.
Okay. Let's move ahead. Let's move ahead. Okay, our next question is coming to you, Dr. Ofomata, please. Whose responsibility it is to develop the African child? Is it the parents? Is it the Ministry of Women Affairs, Women and Children Affairs, and then or the school, or the government?
It's a combination of both. It's a combination of the parents, the Ministry of Education, Ministry of Women Affairs playing a part also in it. The parents, in the sense that when you send your child to school or send your children to school, when they come back, you try to look into their bags and find out if they have homeworks to do. You try to interact with your children, asking them what did they do in school, and you try to find out what they did in school. Through interaction, you know how the child is being developed.
So in essence, it's the combination of both the governments, the parents, the school,
everybody, the community, the society, everybody's involved. Then where Women Affairs comes in also is where you talk about abuse, violence, we have problem with husband and wife not taking care of the children. Okay. To the extent that sometimes they decide to divorce or separate, and the man does not take care of his own children. That's when we step in, if you make a report to our ministry. Okay. And when it comes to the extent that, we deal mostly with reconciliation, then if reconciliation cannot work, then we go to what we call the family court. Okay. The family court handles issues of making sure that the father pays the school fees with the help of the mother also, hospital bills and all of that kind of things.
The family court within the Ministry of Women Affairs?
No, the family court in the state, under the judiciary. It works with the judiciary and works also with the Women Affairs. Okay. They all play a part towards it.
All right, thank you, sir.
But finally, what type of human resources do we really need in terms of developing the African child?
Like Doc rightly said sometime, he said the issue of an average African man or woman designing something to be doing so as to make income for himself in order to deal with the family problem. I would also like to remind him that it is the same thing that has actually brought the problem we are looking at now when you talk about child abuse and rest of it. Because most of these parents, when they now want to find something doing, they look at it holistically, they go out and maybe without a fund around to them, they must get involved. Some will start going to selling in the street and then take their child and their children along. In other words, we need what we call a family economy. The boosting of family economy must find a way to help the man and the woman. It is not, I don't know whose parents wouldn't like to be doing something anyway. There may be.
Every
but
parent
the
would like to be doing something because I know that it is the primary responsibility of parents to train their children before government now comes in. Okay,
yes.
Thank you very much. We'd like to thank you. Okay, you wanted to say
yes, I wanted to say that our ministry also encourages women mostly by giving them forming cooperative society, telling them to form cooperative society, providing them with equipment grants and financial grants sometimes. Mm-hmm. In the aspect, you didn't mention things about persons with special needs, persons with disability. Okay. We also try to rehabilitate them by providing them with seed money, training them, giving them skills. You have the Vocational Rehabilitation Center in Aguleri. You have one in Oba. We're trying to open one in North Ija. After training them, we try to encourage them by giving them seed money and providing them with the equipment to take care of themselves and take care, if they get married, take care of their wives and take care of the children. All these things are ways that the ministry helps in developing a child so that they don't go to the streets
to hawk
or go to the streets to start begging.
Yeah. That's interesting.
That's
Very interesting.
Thank you.
You see, sometimes you wouldn't even know what's going on. Now, all these are the government is doing to make sure that the African child is well developed all round. Yeah. Thank you very much, Dr. Azuka Ofomata. You are the Permanent Secretary, Minister of Women and Child Affairs. Yeah. Thank you for coming today.
Thank you very much.
Okay, and we also want to thank you very much, Engineer Anthony Anaebue. You are our public affairs analyst. Thank you.
Thank you, my dear. Everybody, thank you for listening.